What is going on, everybody? It is your boys from odds.com and Odds HQ. It's the big time. UFC 254. We got Khabib Nurmagomedov going up against Justin Gaethje. But before we get going, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. I am Bleed, your host from Just Bleed MMA. Let me kick it to the dudes and see how we're doing on a Friday night before one of the biggest cards of the year. MMA prediction guru, how you doing, man?
Yeah, man, you said it. It's one of the biggest cards of the year. It's a main event we've been looking forward to for a while. And yeah, there's even this is after the weigh-in show, so there is some controversy with the weigh-ins. I don't know if we're going to get into all that, but it looked like some sketchy stuff might have been going on. So yeah, a lot to talk about, man, for sure.
Boy, we got a lot to talk about, don't we? DFS by the numbers. What's up, dude?
What's going on, guys? What's up, everybody in the chat? First off, I'd like to say that this will be my last live stream here on Odds. Nothing personal, all love, but I do have some business decisions to take care of. So this will be my last time on here. And what a better card to go out on than this Khabib and Gaethje matchup here. And it's really fascinating. Really looking forward to talking some bets. But yeah, let's get into it. There's a lot of bets I want to talk about. And like Guru said, there's a lot of controversy with the weigh-ins as well. So can't wait to talk about it with you guys. And let's make some money on Saturday early tomorrow. Got to wake up early, watch some Yakovlev and Alvarez. Can't wait for it.
Well, let's send you off with a big-time winning card. Cody Saftik, what's up, man?
What's up? We're partying on a Friday night, and I absolutely love doing the show on Friday because all week you look at your picks, you mull over what you like, and then bam, Friday we get weigh-ins, we get a better idea what we're getting ourselves into, get to talk with my odds squad, and lock the picks in for the weekend. So let's go ahead and do it.
No doubt. Well, let's not waste any time. First fight of the night, we've got Joel Alvarez going up against Alexander Yakovlev. Guru, why don't you get us started tonight?
Yeah, this is it's a good fight. I mean, for me, Alexander Yakovlev, his striking, especially since he's came back from that long layoff that he had, it's just been not very good to me. Low volume, skirts the cage, doesn't really do much. He allows his opponents to pressure and push the pace and kind of do what they want. So I do think on the feet, Alvarez, he looks like he's improving his striking, some decent low kicks. He is aggressive, has some okay hands. So I think on the feet, he will probably be the guy coming forward and landing more shots. And he has it obviously as a real good guard, good jiu-jitsu game, good sweep, stuff like that. But he is a guy that, he can, get held on bottom. We saw that against low-level guys like Danilo Bellardo. And I'm not super, enthralled with guys that try to get guard subs in the UFC. But against Alexander Yakovlev, I mean, there is a path to victory, in my opinion. Yakovlev just taking him down, controlling him, making it kind of a boring fight. But I think on the feet, Yakovlev isn't as good. I think on the ground, Alvarez is the more dangerous, dynamic guy. And, I don't know. I don't expect Yakovlev to come in here and just control him for 3 rounds. Yakovlev is a little older. Obviously, Alvarez is younger. He's probably a little more hungry. So I'm going to go with Alvarez here, probably to get like a late finish. But, yeah, it's an interesting fight here.
DFS, what do you think about this one?
That should be a really good fight to start off the night here. Joel Alvarez, someone who looked really good in his last fight. He was a big underdog against Joe Duffy. His striking looked improved, and he was able to get a nice submission win on Joe Duffy there, which was really impressive. And what's interesting is Alvarez opened up at like something crazy, like minus 250, something crazy like that. So in the money has came in on Yakovlev, and rightfully so. I do think this is kind of closer than the line does indicate. But I am going to go with Alvarez here. He is the younger fighter. Very young. He's still improving each and every fight. You can't say the same thing for Yakovlev. And Yakovlev, someone that's been submitted like 4 times. I know he hasn't been submitted in a while, but, getting submitted 4 times regardless is a little bit concerning. And here against a matchup against Alvarez, who has finished 88% of his wins by submission. And this is someone who's not going out there going for takedowns. He's has awful takedown defense. And yeah, like Drew said, Yakovlev could come out here, take him down, control him. But, man, Alvarez off his back is pretty solid. He could probably hit a sweep or reversal, get on top. I think, Yakovlev taking down Alvarez would only be playing with fire. And on the feet, Alvarez is probably the better striker, and his striking has improved. So, yeah, I think Alvarez is better. The younger fighter, the more hungrier fighter. I'm going to pick him here. Am I going to bet it? Probably not. I'm going to sit back and watch this first fight of the night. It's going to be really early as well. Still probably going to be trying to wake up at that point. So give me Alvarez. I want to say some inside the distance. I mean, he's finished 100% of his wins. Maybe he gets a submission. Submission is plus 215. Not really good for me, but it's going to be a pass. But give me Alvarez.
Right on. Cody Saftik, what do you think?
Okay, so here's a case that I was actually looking at Alexander Yakovlev as a dog play, but then you see the weigh-ins and you get a red flag. I mean, you got Joel Alvarez coming over 4 pounds overweight, like 159.7. To be honest, he looks like a massive lightweight. Now, the thing with Alexander Yakovlev standing 6'3", former welterweight himself, he's a very big lightweight. Now, listen, when we talk about Joel Alvarez, we all talk about his 100% finish ratio and all these submissions, but largely that's over very inexperienced talent. The biggest win on his resume being Joe Duffy, but that's Joe Duffy on a losing streak, 1 foot out the door, retires immediately after. As far as his takedown defense go, it doesn't appear to be existent. I mean, Danilo Bellardo took him down almost at will, had a little bit of his way with him on the ground, didn't have his way with him, but just was able to avoid all submission attempts until late in the round when he starts to fatigue. And then beyond that, at least that's something Yakovlev could exploit, his takedown defense. As far as his takedown offense, because we talk about how good his submission game is, he doesn't shoot takedowns. He's not shot any takedowns in the UFC. He's not committed to wrestling whatsoever. So as far as his submission game, this 88% wins by submission, it's off the table if he's not willing to take you down, and you're not going to take him down. He's just going to strike. But it goes back to Guru mentioned. You watch his first fight in the UFC, it's like, oh man, this striking is just very robotic, very stiff, and very predictable. His second fight in the UFC against Bellardo, you see in the second round, he opens up. He's a little more aggressive, looks a little bit cleaner. And then the fight against Joe Duffy. Wow, here's somebody who's working on his striking. He's still only 27, very big for the weight, very good shape. Even though he missed weight, that's only going to benefit him, right? If Yakovlev's game plan is take this guy down. And by the way, Yakovlev fights he throws something like 2 significant strikes per minute. Like he doesn't throw anything. So I actually see Alvarez probably keeping this fight standing and using his improved striking to edge out a decision. Now, where I like that is that Alvarez by decision is currently sitting at plus 370. So, to be honest, because he has that 100% finish ratio, nobody assumes he's going to win a decision. But it goes back to the Jillian Robertson last week where we were talking about plus 460 Jillian Robertson by decision. Yeah, it doesn't matter that you finish a bunch of low-level competition. Now you're taking on some real competition. Now you're taking on better levels of competition. And Alexander Yakovlev, even though he's 36 years old, the guy went 3 rounds of Damian Maia. And by the way, Damian Maia was sitting in mount for like 9 minutes. Like just had his way with him, but he went the distance with him. He's been in there with Kamaru Usman. He's been in there with world-class competition. I don't think going 15 minutes with Joel Alvarez seems crazy. So Alvarez weight miss definitely helps him out. And for that reason, I'm probably going to sway back towards Joel Alvarez's side for the pick. And I'm looking at that decision prop.
Boy, I tell you what, I'm going to go contrarian on this one, boys. You watch the tape on Alvarez, man. I just can't get how Alvarez is so comfortable on his back. I mean, we talked about the Bellardo fight. He spends the entire first round on his back, starts the second round on his back. At some point, finds the sweep, the reversal, rains down some shots, has Bellardo in a bad position, finishes the fight. I think Yakovlev's a far better grappler than Bellardo was. I just have a feeling Yakovlev can work his game. I mean, we talk about how big Alvarez is, but at the same time, man, Yakovlev also a very, very big lightweight. I have a feeling that this fight could play out. Yakovlev 2 rounds on top. I think it could go to the scorecards like you're saying, Cody. Give me Yakovlev the underdog. And I tell you what, I was tempted, possibly thinking about maybe even betting this one, getting a little dog action on the first fight of the night. That weight miss, though. Let me ask you guys, you think legit weight miss, or do we have some strategery here? I'm leaning we may have a strategic weight miss here. Alvarez coming in a little heavy could really change things up. It's going to be a pass for me, but I'm willing to pick the underdog in Yakovlev. So that's your first fight of the night. Second fight of the night, we've got Liana Jojua going up against Miranda Maverick. Cody, do you want to start us off on this one?
Yeah, so it's just a very tough price tag for a fight like this. And that Maverick looks to be a decent prospect. She looks to be someone that could grow into a contender down the road. But at this point, she's 23 years old. She's making her UFC debut. And she's coming in as an overwhelming favorite over Liana Jojua. Now, I honestly think she has the advantage everywhere. I like what I see out of her wrestling. I think she's got a wrestling advantage. Jojua, not really good with her takedowns. If you want to take her down, maybe she throws up that armbar from guard again. But how often are you just going to bank on that kind of move to get you the victory? To be honest, Maverick, she's already fought the one-night tournament in Invicta. She fought Pearl Gonzalez for the title. It's not a great performance, but you see where this is someone who's budding and growing and getting better. I honestly think that she's got the striking advantage as well. So if she just decides to use the wrestling, counteract her, keep this fight standing, she probably bops up Jojua. And I don't know. If the fight hits the ground, I think Maverick probably just, keeps out of harm's way and dominates there as well. I would love to pull the trigger. I really would. But then the veteran Cody, who's been burned in spots just like this in the past, says, you know what? It's minus 430, 23-year-old fighter. 23-year-old fighter, always going to be a tough case. UFC debut, always going to be a tough case. And now, minus 430 favorite, always something you don't love. And then the cherry on top is women's MMA. Anything can happen. Jojua actually killed me last time out where I honestly thought Balbita, far superior striker, would be able to stuff her takedowns and bob her up. Instead, Belbita just goes and shoots a takedown and gets submitted. Like, embarrassing, man. It is what it is. Can't get it back. But in this spot, I think Maverick should be the clear favorite. She is the clear favorite. There's just like a hesitancy over putting her to parlays and stuff like that. Like, is she a key piece? I don't know if she's that kind of trustworthy.
Man, I totally understand you there. DFS, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, Miranda Maverick, biggest favorite on the card here, I believe, which is really interesting here. And this is my main event. This is my main event. I have seen so much slander, so much hate, so much disrespect on Twitter and stuff on Miranda Maverick. Like, I mean, she's the real deal. Watching tape on her, I was going in there looking for, does she have some striking? Because we all know Jojua can't strike at all. And, she has decent striking. I think her striking is much better than Jojua's, but she is a great wrestler. She's great on the ground. I was very, very surprised with what I've seen. And she's not doing it to some bums on the regional scene. She has some actually pretty good competition on her record there. So I'm 100% sold on Miranda Maverick. And, the arguments out there for Jojua, like, one of the arguments is, like, she's Georgian. Like, if you're telling me her only path to victory is going in there and being Georgian, like, I'm comfortable with putting Miranda Maverick in my parlay. And, of course, the other argument is the armbar from guard. And yeah, I mean, Belbita, she's someone who got submitted 3 times prior to that. And that's why I actually did, I didn't bet her, but I did pick Jojua her last fight against Belbita because of that very scenario. And yeah, the striking for Jojua is pretty bad. I saw her get dominated by Sarah Moras. I saw her get finished by Sarah Moras. She looks like she quit in that fight. She slowed down. Man, I really like Miranda Maverick. I think she's the big deal. But yeah, like Cody said, women's MMA, 23 years old, UFC debut, but she's a beast. I do think she's a real deal. And what I did on my live stream is I'm so confident that Miranda Maverick wins is if Miranda Maverick loses, I'm going to personally make a Liana Jojua shirt. I'm going to go get the supplies, glitter it up, and I will wear it on my live stream if Liana Jojua, the biggest underdog on the card, pulls an upset tomorrow. So look out for that. So
I like it. I like it.
Yeah, I'm confident. I've seen so much disrespect on Maverick. And you're not going to win a fight just because you're Georgian. It's not going to happen. So give me Maverick all day.
Hey, nothing I love more than a channel challenge. MMA prediction guru, what do you think, man?
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm pretty confident in Maverick as well. Another thing about the striking is she is a southpaw, and I think it's going to be the first southpaw that Jojua has fought. So, I mean, for a round at least, I mean, you'd think on the feet she's going to be like probably a little bit ahead. But, I mean, just looking at it, I mean, I think the only path to victory we all see for Jojua is, armbar submission from guard. So, I mean, I think she has almost six of her 7 wins or 6 of her 8 wins that way, a couple decisions. She's been submitted one time, and then she got finished by Sarah Moras. So, I mean, maybe she'll catch Miranda Maverick in an armbar, but Miranda Maverick, she's fought Deanna Bennett, Pro Gonzalez, like you guys said, who I feel are better on the ground than Jojua. So, the only thing I'll say is with the weigh-ins, Jojua did fight Sarah Moras at 135, and at the face-off, she did look like significantly bigger than Maverick, but I don't know if that'll really matter. I do think Maverick is clearly superior, so I got to pick her here.
Well, I tell you what, guys, I'm totally with you. You got to go Maverick in this spot. I mean, we've seen Jojua. She's another fighter that's just on her back. Like we've basically said, Jojua, where does she win this fight? Armbar from guard. Unfortunately, we see this consistently in women's MMA. I'm going to pick Miranda Maverick, but I'm going to tell you guys what. This is a big-time pass for me. I remember a 23-year-old women's prospect not too long ago that everybody and their mom wanted to get in on, and it didn't work out. I'm still a little shocked. It's going to be a big-time pass for me, but I'll pick Miranda Maverick to win. So, next fight of the night, this is a banger. Da Eun Jung going up against Sam Alvey. DFS, can you start us off here?
Yeah, it should be a really exciting fight here. And I'm really high on Da Eun Jung. I mean, he's someone who has some questionable wins on his record if you go deep down, but he just knocked out Mike Rodriguez. He beat Khadis Ibragimov. I mean, that's not a good win, but still he looked really good. I mean, just looking at the numbers, he does land a lot of output, over 6 significant strikes landed per minute. That's more than double of Sam Alvey. Sam Alvey is someone who's very, very low output. He's very slow. He's lost 4 in a row. I do think he's on his way out. And I saw an interview with Sam Alvey, and he was actually surprised that he got another shot here. And, Da Eun Jung, if you look at the stats, he does absorb 7 significant strikes per minute, but that's because Khadis Ibragimov unloaded a 50-punch combo on him in the first round. And he did take that really well. His chin looked really good. His cardio looked really good. And I just think this is a very, very bad stylistic matchup for Sam Alvey just due to Da Eun Jung. He's dangerous. He's finished 92% of his fights. He hits very hard. He throws a ton of volume. I think the volume is going to be the key piece for the victory for Da Un Jung. But, Sam Alvey is someone who's very durable. Only 3 knockout losses in 47 fights. And I called it last time when I fought Ryan Spann, and everybody thought Spann was going to finish him, the first couple minutes of the round. And I took the Spann by decision there. And I'm kind of looking at the Da Un Jung by decision, but the line isn't good enough for me. Plus 240. So I do have Da Un Jung in a parlay. I'm not really looking at the props. Maybe he finishes Alvey, maybe not. But I am pretty confident he gets it done.
There you go. Guru, what are you thinking on this one?
Yeah, it's an interesting fight to me because I do feel like Da Un Jung, he looked really good in that Mike Rodriguez fight. I feel like he looked way better than any other fight in his whole career. He was switching stances. He looked a lot more fluid on the feet, and he landed that huge straight right down the middle and knocked him out. It showed big power. But if you look at previous fights in his career, like before he was in the UFC, even versus Ibragimov, he's a guy that's he'll not really do much early on in the fight. He walks forward and is just kind of standing in front of people, and he's more of a guy that kind of likes to probe the jab, throw a lot of the, touching shots, then come in with the hard shots. And I don't know. I feel like Alvey, this is, he's lost 4 in a row. So this is definitely his last chance to stay in the UFC. Last time maybe he thought that as well. And he kind of fought like it, that fight was a split decision with the guy who's in the top 15. He almost finished him in the 3rd round. And I just feel like, Da Un Jung doesn't really have that many fights. We just saw against Kadis Ibragimov, like you said, he got hit 50 times in the first round. He got outstruck, I think, over double in the first 2 rounds. And I don't know if you can get hit that many times against a guy like Sam Alvey, man. I just feel like if this was pick 'em odds, I definitely would pick Da Un Jung to win all day. He could jab, kick his way to a decision. He could even maybe land something big in the first round and knock him out. But, as the fight continues to go on, there's a huge experience gap here. Sam Alvey's been in there with really good guys. He has knockout power. He has tricky striking. So, if Da Un Jung comes in here with the game plan to brawl with him at any point, Alvey is live here. And with the line, I just feel like it should be a lot closer. So I'm going to go with Sam Alvey to get the win here.
Underdog pick. I like it. Cody Safdie, let him know.
Well, just to counter some of those points, I look at Kadis Ibragimov and I think to myself, geez, he threw more significant strikes in that first round than Sam Alvey has in his entire career. That's the big difference with Sam Alvey. Sam just doesn't pull the trigger. He backs himself up straight back to the cage and he looks to counterpunch. Back in the day, it would work. He would catch guys. Look at that. He's beating old man Dan Kelly. Look at that. He's clipping some of these, mid to low level contenders. But that's all at 185 pounds. At 205 pounds, the power hasn't shown. He did knock out Marcin Prachnio. Marcin Prachnio read headfirst into the punch 2 times, dog. 2 times. Outside of that, the Jean Vellante fight, he just sits back. He drops Jean Vellante, but he sits back and he doesn't do anything. Even the Ryan Spann fight, he's got Ryan Spann hurt. This is his moment. This is his opportunity. I'm about to get cut in his mind. About to get cut if I don't finish this. And Sam Alvey just doesn't quite throw enough. So Da Un Jung would really have to brawl with him. Sam Alvey's not looking to brawl for an extended period of time, 15 minutes. His best weapons were at 185, very difficult to take down. His cardio checks out because he doesn't throw anything. And his chin, cast iron. And then you look at him at 205, it's like, ooh, all of a sudden Little Nog's knocking him out. Ooh, all of a sudden that cast iron chin that Sam Alvey's had in the past starting to show some glimpses of breaking apart. 4-fight losing streak. He thinks he's getting cut. He's fighting at 205. He's largely out of shape. I've met Sam Alvey a few times. A guy that could walk around at 230 pounds, drops down. He's also got 6 kids. He's got a life going on. And then I think about all that stuff, and then I think, geez, Da Un Jung, 26 years old, 6'4", used to fight at 225 pounds in Korea. Big guy. Sam Alvey used to fight at 170. He was on the Ultimate Fighter at 170 pounds. Da Un Jung used to fight at heavyweight in Korea. He's a much larger man, 6'4". He's going to be the bigger guy in there. And then another key thing is Guru and I spoke last week about Brian Ortega and that give this guy time off, the 27 to 29. We really think he'd make those improvements. I agree with Guru 100%. The last fight, even though you only get a minute of it in the Mike Rodriguez fight, Da Un Jung looks like he's making a lot of improvements. Now he's 10 months off. Since that fight, I'm expecting this 26-year-old kid, Korean top team, very good gym, make improvements, get better. Whereas Sam Alvey, I am expecting no improvements out of Sam Alvey. So the only thing I will agree is that the line's pretty wide. It's a wide out line. Da Un Jung's not exactly the kind of guy that you want to bank. He lost the first round to Kadis Ibragimov. Put that into perspective. But again, that's almost 2 years ago now. This guy's going to be improving. He's going to be getting better. And I got him picked here. Now, the one question is, because he's such a big favorite, does Sam Alvey's legendary toughness hold up and Da Un Jung wins the decision? Or is Sam Alvey got one foot out the door and gets caught and goes down at some point? Like, I don't know. I don't know how many improvements Dong Jung's made, but I can't go with the dog pick on Alvey on this one.
Yeah, I totally get it, man. So Dong Jung, we talk about 26-year-old dude, young up and comer. I think you've got some great points, Cody. I wouldn't be surprised if we see the best version we've seen thus far. Not a guy that I'm necessarily too high on, and the current numbers we're getting him at, you're either going to need to find a prop or probably make him like a parlay piece. I don't know if I'm confident enough in that. I mean, Sam Alvey can be a really tough guy, but man, we've talked about the losing streak. We've talked about this guy's age, the family outside the cage. I'm just not so sure, man. I just don't see that hunger, that drive. And I feel like in the performance of Sam Alvey, I just don't see a guy that's, going out there and laying it on the line. Not that he ever was that kind of a fighter to begin with, but I just see a guy that as he gets older continuously gets gun shy. The numbers are just not there for me. It's been, I think, at least 3 years since we've seen a Sam Alvey finish. This pick for me, I'm going to take Dong Jung. It's not going to be a play. He's a little too steep for me, and I feel like we have so many other better spots on this card that it's going to end up being a pass for me. But for me, it's just more or less a fade on Sam Alvey. I just can't back Sam Alvey at this point. Maybe he comes out and looks rejuvenated and ends up winning this fight with a big KO. I still probably wouldn't take Sam Alvey in the next fight, but I just can't at this point in good conscience take Sam Alvey. I can understand the value play for sure, but for me, the pick is Dong Jung. And I expect him to get it done. Not sure if it's going to be a finish or not, but I will pick Dong Jung to get the win here. So next fight, we are up to Alex Cowboy Oliveira versus Shavkat Rahkmonov. Cody Safdie, can you start us off?
Okay, so this is the you missed the line fight of the week. It opens at plus 130. I think Rahkmonov's a good bet because he's plus 130, even though he's making his UFC debut, and he's someone that has, I believe, another 100% finish ratio. It doesn't look like he's going to be slowing down in those later rounds. And Alex Oliveira, not that he couldn't beat him if he's at his best, but right off the hop, he's taking this fight on short notice for Zaleski dos Santos. So Cowboy Oliveira on a full camp, known to fade late, especially against a dangerous guy like Rahkmonov. That's going to be a problem. Taking the fight on short notice, definitely going to be a problem. 170 Cowboy Oliveira, obviously we don't like him as much as we liked 155 Cowboy. All those things are working against him. And then he tips the scale today at 173 and don't look good. And at this point, Rahkmonov's now a minus 120 favorite. So you wanted the guy debuting in he's making his debut and he's a little unknown and his level of competitions is questionable. And we've actually seen him get hurt in fights against, low level talent, so to speak. But yeah, he works his way back into it. He's got the heart of a fighter. He's improving. He's still young in his ways. I feel like it was your dog play of the week, but now he's a slight favorite. It's like, I still haven't picked. I'm not all of a sudden switching my pick. The problem is it's just way less appealing to just take that shot and be like, I'm getting plus money on it. It's like, now I'm getting the debuting guy who's fought in suspect competition, who's never been into the championship or the later rounds. Whereas Cowboy Oliveira has fought in some of the best guys in the division. He's lost to the best guys in the division, but he's hung in there with some good, and he's won his last two. I thought he's looked very suspect over those two wins. But all the same, he's got the experience edge. I just don't know that he's going to be able to put it all together. So picks Rahkmonov. Again, hate to give it to you at this point in the week, but it's one of the benefits of waiting late in the week is you see the weigh-ins, you see all this. One of the problems with it is people see someone like Cowboy Oliveira at the scales and decide, you could make an argument. We'll talk about Khabib. Maybe he missed weight. Who knows? Maybe but Joel Alvarez, it looks like that's a tactical move. It looked like Joel Alvarez could have missed weight and it's going to play in his favor and he'll still look good. Cowboy Oliveira, especially because he's got like 9 kids, not a tactical error. He would have liked to have made weight if he could have. He just couldn't. So difficult task for him. I'm going to take Rahkmonov.
There you go. DFS, how do you feel about this one?
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. And you did bring up some good points, like the weigh-ins. He did miss weight. So, how prepared is he? I mean, with 9 kids, you think, how much free time can one get? But no, I got Rahkmonov at plus 135. So I got him way early in the week. Because at first, I thought the line should be a pick'em. So I did place the 135. But now, like minus 120, I'll be honest, I probably wouldn't bet it there. I did like that plus money because I thought it was a 50-50 fight. But after, seeing the weigh-ins, I actually have a little bit more confidence in Rahkmonov. And as far as the matchup goes, I'm not someone who's really high on Alex Oliveira. He's someone who's very, very low output. And he also slows down as the fight goes on. Rahkmonov, watching him, he can go into the later rounds. I think he has a couple third-round finishes, a couple second-round finishes. Very dangerous guys, finished all his wins as well. And I like the guy. Just probably in this matchup, having more volume, I think is going to be, the key here. And I did see him get rocked. But he was able to come back and end up getting the victory. So that was good to see there. He was able to, battle some adversity is something you like to see in some of these young guys. And I mean, he's not coming from he hasn't been fighting completely scrubs. He has some decent competition, but yeah, this is going to be the hardest fight of his career. So it's going to be interesting to see how he performs. But like I said, I got it at plus 135, the minus 120. It's not bad. I do think this fight should be lined around where it's at now, but give me Rahkmonov to get it done here. I want to say inside the distance. Oliveira has been submitted 3 times. He's been knocked out once before as well. I can see Rahkmonov maybe getting a finish later in the fight once Oliveira does slow down. Because, at weigh-ins, he did not look all that great, and missing weight is not a good sign, especially coming in on short notice. And like Cody said, even when he has a full camp, he still slows down. So imagine him now. So give me Rahkmonov. Hopefully he gets it done here.
Well, you got him at a good number, man.
Yeah.
Prediction Guru, what do you think?
Yeah, this is a weird fight for me because on paper, man, when I'm watching it, they're both their fights, I feel like Cowboy is better, but everything these guys are talking about, in terms of the short notice, just the damage that Cowboy has accumulated over his career as well, and missing weight, everything like that. Because when I look at Rahkmonov, though, I mean, I feel like he kind of is a little bit slow. He stands in front of guys, and I don't think he really reacts that good to forward pressure. So I could see, Alex Cowboy coming in here and blitzing him early, knocking him out like we've seen him do quite a few times to some people. I mean, we have seen Rahkmonov get dropped, he almost got melted, man. He almost got knocked out cold a couple times, or it was only one time that I saw in a regional scene fight. And I mean, I do think his grappling is okay in the clinch, but I feel like his defensive wrestling isn't really that great. Cowboy maybe could take him down and lay on him, but we all know Cowboy doesn't really come in here and he's not going to have a smart game plan to, lay and prey on the guy. And I do think Rahkmonov, he's younger. He is improving. He's decent everywhere. And he does have good cardio, good ground and pounds. So, man, I don't know, man. It's I want to pick Cowboy to win, but it's everything is telling me that Rahkmonov is probably going to get the win. So I'm going to pick Rahkmonov to win. But, yeah, I have no confidence in that whatsoever.
Well, I tell you what, guys, I feel, man, it seems like we're all pretty much seeing this fight the exact same way. Guru, I'm going to agree with you, man. I think Oliveira probably is the better fighter. I mean, the resume of these guys is just night and day difference. We're talking about one guy who's been in there with some of the best in the best and actually beat some of them. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. There's been some disappointing losses in there. And then we're talking about another guy coming off the Kazaki Russian circuit. And he's had some decent wins, fought some decent level of competition, not a lot of name value there, but a guy that you watch the tape and appears to have some skills and to be a pretty good fighter. Definitely, to me, the tape I've seen appears to be a UFC level guy, Big age difference. We've seen a lot of guys debuting in this pandemic era that have just come in and looked good, won a lot of fights, man. I wish I could have hit this one at a number like my man DFS did, plus money. I feel like that's worth the roll of the dice all day, in my opinion. At this point, though, Rahkmonov is a slight favorite. I feel like it changes the whole narrative of the play, and honestly, that's going to be enough to scare me off this spot. If I could have got Rahkmonov as a plus 130 as it stands right now, or even tomorrow, if things were trending, the line was moving on the Cowboy side, I would probably be on betting Rahkmonov. I'm going to pick him, but again, it's just going to have to end up being a pass, man. I'm going to have to be a little bit disciplined, and I'm just not as cool with getting him at a minus number as I was that very healthy plus number. So for me, it's going to be a pass overall, but I got a feeling Rahkmonov gets this one done, so the pick is Rahkmonov. So we're rolling right along here. We've got another very good fight here. Casey Kenney going up against Nathaniel Wood. Guru, could you start us off here?
Yeah, man. I don't know if anyone wants to hear my opinion on Casey Kenney fights after the Alteg pick.
Oh, no.
But man, I mean, do I go against Casey Kenney again here? That's the question, right? And yeah, I think I'm gonna pick Nathaniel Wood to get the win. I mean, I just feel like the southpaw stance just destroyed Alteg. I didn't think that was going to happen, where he was landing the left straight, the left kick every single time he threw it. And this fight, I mean, I do think it's probably going to come down to durability and output, man, because I think they're real similar level talented. I think Wood maybe is a little bit more of a skilled striker, and Kenney maybe has a wrestling advantage. In terms of the jiu-jitsu, I don't really know it, because Wood is actually in terms of the grappling stats, he has all the advantages everywhere. But it's kind of deceiving because Casey Kenney has fought like a lot of really good grapplers. So it's I mean, that could be interesting because I do feel like Wood, as the fight continues to go on, I think he's the guy that throws more output and is going to be the guy that's going to continue to come forward. So I don't know if Casey Kenney can hurt him a couple of times because we have seen Nathaniel Wood knocked out. We've seen him rocked and stuff like that. I think that'll lead to him getting the victory. But if it goes 3 rounds and he can't get takedowns into a stand-up fight, I kind of think Nathaniel Wood maybe could pull away and win a decision. So I'm going to go with Wood again. I mean, he's the underdog. So I don't know. Maybe I'm going to be off again on Casey Kenney. Maybe I just disrespect the guy, but we'll see what happens. I'm going to go with Nathaniel Wood.
I just want to know what you got against Casey Kenney. DFS by the numbers. Let us know, man.
No, I definitely agree with Guru's analysis. I mean, this is a fight that, I mean, I really don't get the line. I think this should be a lot closer. I think there is some recency bias built in. We just saw Casey Kenney a couple weeks ago put on the performance of his lifetime. I mean, how many body shots can one guy take without, falling down? And, Alatang showed some really good toughness. And, I mean, I think what it's going to come down to is, Wood has some very, very good output. I mean, he's going to throw more. He's going to be most likely better on the feet. But I don't know. Kenney showed some really good improvements in his striking. And I know it was Alatang, not the best level of competition. And this is a fight I'm really looking forward to because I think it's a 50-50 fight here. And what it comes down to for me is the wrestling and the ground game of Casey Kenney. He's able to go out there and, hang with guys like Ray Borg, Bermudez, and he's never been submitted. He's never been knocked out. Wood's someone who has, durability issues. I mean, he's been knocked out twice. He's been hurt a lot more than that. He's been submitted twice as well. In a 50-50 fight, I'm going to lean with, the guy that I think has more paths to victory. That is Casey Kenney with those takedowns, with that ground game. And honestly, I think it can go either way. So people taking shots on Wood at dog money, I can't blame you. And I personally, I like Casey Kenney. I don't want to bet him at that minus 170. If it was a pick 'em, sure, I'd bet Kenney. But at this price, I think it's going to play out a lot closer than the line indicates. I think it's going to be a decision that goes either way. But I'm going to lean on the Casey Kenney side here.
There you go. Cody Safdie, what do you feel about this one?
Yeah, I got to go with my boy Casey Kenney here. I think that's somebody who's really rounding out his game completely. I mean, he's faced early career adversity, but he's already experienced a lot. The LFA championship wins at 125 and 135, 2 fights on Contender Series, actually losing one, coming to the UFC, going on a 4-1 run, having to fight guys like Merab Dvalishvili. But you see this guy improving all the time. He's wrestled collegiately. He's a black belt in judo. His ground game's good. His grappling's solid. It's that striking element that you're now seeing him start to employ a lot more. And his cardio's off the charts. His chin's off the charts. Takes a great punch and just keeps going with it. Now, that's the difference between him and Nathaniel Wood. Nathaniel Wood, as much as he is, he's another 4-1 in the UFC, young prospect, developing, exciting, good. But, I mean, he's a Brad one-punch Pickett prospect, trained guy, and he fights very much the same way. Very good with his hands, very good offensively minded guy, very hittable. Not exactly the most defensively sound guy. Casey Kenney should, I think, go out there and show that he can strike on his level. Only Casey Kenney hits him 100 times. Nathaniel Wood's really going to wear it. If he kicks him that many times to the body, he's going to hurt. Whereas if he lands these same shots, if they go 100 for 100, Casey Kenney's walking out on the other side, no problem. I honestly think that he's coming into his own. I really do like Casey Kenney. I think that Nathaniel Wood is nothing against him, but honestly, just look at the numbers themselves, right? Nathaniel Wood's known as a striker. He's been knocked out before. He comes to the UFC. Maybe he's got some durability issues, but he's this young, very exciting striker. From Britain, not known for the wrestling, not known for his grappling, striker. Right off the get-go, Johnny Eduardo pieces him up with the striking. The Andre Ewell fight, he relies on his takedowns. He's taking down Andre Ewell, fine. The Jose Quinones fight, he got outstruck by Jose Quinones, but a good thing he relied on those takedowns. The John Dodson fight, he lost to John Dodson. In fact, the first 2 rounds were competitive. I thought he was up probably, but it was close. And in the 3rd round, he gets chin checked by John Dodson, who doesn't really throw a whole lot. Wood doesn't look exceptionally good there. And then the John Castaneda fight, yeah, he looks good, but it's a lower level talent guy. And I honestly think that that's the problem. He's relying on his wrestling and his grappling in all of these fights. He's taking down his opponent at least one time in all of these fights. Well, I don't think he's got the grappling advantage over Casey Kenney, so he's going to be forced to strike with him the whole time. And that's where I think it goes back to Kenney just delivering the better blows, wearing the punches better, hurting this kid down the stretch, and just he's really coming to his own, man. He looks really good every time out, better every time out. So sign me up for Casey Kenney. Now, I'll admit, it opens up at 145. Love it. Give me Casey Kenney for 145. It balloons up to 185. Nathaniel Wood dog money starts to look pretty tempting. Now the line's sitting, I believe, around like that 160 range. Like it's settled somewhere in the middle. Casey Kenney's my guy. I got Casey Kenney. Casey Kenney's a decision machine. We're talking about durability issues on Wood's side. Like, does Casey Kenney pull off his second career knockout? Maybe, could be, not likely. Alatang was unbelievable brick wall to take that much damage. Can Wood do the same thing? I'm not so sure. I do see passive victory for Wood. I 100% do. But I honestly think that if these guys fight 10 times, Casey Kenney's winning more times than not. And I'm going to take him in this spot.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, man, you guys covered this one very well. I think we've hit about every area. For me, when I think about how these guys match up, both guys definitely can grapple. Casey Kenney, we've seen some serious grappling. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think Casey Kenney's probably the best scrambler, when it's kind of that situation where both guys are working for a spot. Casey Kenney seems to repeatedly come out on top. The only time he didn't was against Merab Dvalishvili. But we're talking about Merab Dvalishvili. Okay. I don't think Wood's any Merab, you know what I'm saying? So Casey Kenney, Cody, you touched on the striking in that last fight. Wow, really opened my eyes. Now, Casey Kenney was a guy that I've been high on, okay? That last fight showed me some stuff. I think we're looking at a dude that seems to be getting bigger, thicker, stronger, hitting harder. Guy that's going to be fighting at a catchweight 140 that's been fighting at a 125. I thought maybe Wood would have some size here. This is the after the weigh-in show, man. We saw these guys face off today. There's not a big size discrepancy here. I loved Casey Kenney. At some books earlier this week, Casey Kenney was getting up to more like a minus 200. Now, at that point, I still like Casey Kenney. I was going to use him to be the start of a parlay, probably a 2-leg parlay. At this point, though, the numbers have moved enough. We're talking about a minus 160, minus 170 Casey Kenney. I'm going to go ahead and take the straight bet. I know Nathaniel Wood's very good. I know he looked great in his last fight. I'm very high on Casey Kenney. I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. I got a straight bet on Casey Kenney. And the number just keeps getting better. So hopefully I can wait till right before fight time. We keep getting that Wood love, and I get an even better number. Maybe not, but I'm going to tell you guys right now, straight bet on Casey Kenney for me. I think Casey Kenney rolls through this kid. I'm not sure if it's going to be a finish, but I definitely think Casey Kenney has the advantage almost everywhere, really. So give me Casey Kenney on this one. And like I said, I'm going to have a play on him. So here we go. You guys want to talk coin flip fight? Stefan Struve versus Tuivasa. Who's up? You know what? Let's have my man DFS start this one off.
Yeah, first off, I just want to say it's storming really, really bad here. So hopefully I get to stay on. I'm at my girlfriend's parents' house, hence the curtains there. But getting into the breakdown, this is a very tough fight to call. For multiple reasons. I mean, this is such a weird fight here. Stefan Struve, he's someone I've never been high on. I mean, the dude's been knocked out 7 times. I'm just not high on the guy. But Tuivasa, I mean, you watch the tape. He can be taken down. He can be taken down a lot. I mean, Spivak took him down 5 or 6 times, and he had nothing for it. But Struve, I mean, he's not really going out there and taking guys down at will. I mean, he only averages about a takedown for 15 minutes, but that one takedown, I mean, could probably be enough to get the fight ended here, and that's what makes it such a hard fight to call. I'm going to go to Tuivasa. I've liked him all week. I just didn't know how I wanted to play him. I don't really like the price there. I would have liked to get him at that underdog price, but I think he's going to go out there, knock out Struve, push him against the cage. And in a lot of Tuivasa's fights, he's able to get his opponents against the cage, lands nasty hard elbows, nasty hard punches. It's just, I don't know, Struve's really told us he's going to be able to go up there and hit him really hard. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But I think once he touches the chin of Stefan Struve, Struve's going to go down. But honestly, wouldn't be shocked if, Struve submitted him or something like in the second round. And also something I want to mention is Tuivasa. I mean, watching tape, he has 1 round of gas. After that round 1, he slows down a ton. So I actually did take a shot on Tuivasa. I have about a quarter unit on Tuivasa wins in round 1 because I really don't see a path of victory outside of that round 1. Do I see him finishing Struve outside of round 1? Maybe. But after that, he really, really slows down. The power stops, the volume stops, and I think Struve could take over. But I'm more leaning towards the side of Tuivasa getting it done early.
Cody Saftik, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a coin flip fight. Tuivasa either knocks Stefan Struve senseless in the first round, which we've seen many of times, or we see Stefan Struve just take a outside trip and end up on top of Tuivasa, and then, we've got a serious problem. I'm just going to give Tuivasa the benefit of the doubt. And again, you guys hear me talk about all the time about these young guys, young prospects, learning, losing. You got to get better. You're going to make those improvements. Tuivasa's not looked good in the UFC. At times, against lesser competition, he's looked real good. But as of late, I mean, it's just been a skid downwards. And listen, I fault the guy in that maybe he's not taking it as seriously. He's doing the shoeies. He's in New Zealand. He's hanging out with Mark Hunt, bunch of big Samoan guys. Like, is he rounding out his game? I don't know. But honestly, he's a very athletic heavyweight. He's still only 27 years old. He used to play semi-professional rugby. And you see like that win over Rashad Coulter. It's a flying knee. Like, you see what he can dazzle. But it's the gas tank, and he's just not taking it seriously. And it was all fun and good when he's losing to Junior Dos Santos because, hey, it's a former champion. And he looked good in the first round against Dos Santos. It's the subsequent fights where it's like, okay, well, Ivanov's badass. And, he didn't look... He looked bad, but he had some spots in that fight. Maybe he could have won with a better game plan. And then the Spivak fight, it's like, I can't make excuses for him anymore. I really can't. And I think he caught the message on that and realized, you know what? I can't make excuses for myself as well. So apparently he's done his entire camp at American Kickboxing Academy. And whereas, a young fighter's like, at a new gym, and what does this mean? And what does that mean? And, Khabib's on the card, it's headlined, and who knows how much time he's been able to spend there and this and that. Like, maybe it's just a thrown out there storyline. One thing I am taking consideration is that you look good on the scales, man. You look like he is taking it seriously. Look like this is someone who's still got some maturing to do. And if they give him the right opponents, he can still go out there and dazzle and get some KO with the Knights. And once you know it, they give him Stefan Struve. Now, Stefan Struve, I used to make excuses for him too. Only been knocked out by the hardest punches in the UFC. And when he figures out how to use that length and how to use that distance, watch out. See, here's the problem. Never figured out how to use the length. Never figured out how to use the distance. And as a result, you really just need to bum rush this guy. Ben Rothwell literally did nothing. Actually, that's a lie. Kicks him in the nuts, right? Outside of that, doesn't let his hands go, doesn't do anything. Takes a point away. At this point, he realizes, you know what? I'm losing the fight anyways. I'm down on the scorecards, and I just lost a point. I'm going to throw a couple punches. Not fast punches, because we're talking about Ben Rothwell here. Everything's kind of like it's moving in underwater, so to speak. But just lets his hands fly, and it's just like, that's it. The Rogerio de Lima fight, right? Yeah, Stefan Struve wins it. Watch the first round. It's like, touch, bang, done. Struve almost looks like he's out of it. But de Lima, falls it. Tai Tuivasa gets him in that same spot and just unloads a barrage, comes at him, forces it to him. I see if I go back to the scenario, if these guys fight 10 times, Ty's knocking him out 6 times, and Struve, maybe 7. And Struve's getting this thing to the ground and submitting him or out-grappling him the other bit. But I'm going with Tai Tuivasa. And even though, it's not a 50-50 fight, yeah, I mean, I honestly am playing into the factor at minus 120. Screw it. I think he's going to make those improvements. He's young enough. Struve has had an entire career to make those improvements. Just hasn't. Ty's still in that stage where it's like he could show you a better version of him. And moving his camp to AKA shows at least a commitment to achieve that potential. So sign me up for Bam Bam Tai Tuivasa.
He's going Bam Bam. Guru, who you got?
Yeah, I mean, I want to be with Cody, man. I want to bet on Ty. I want to be confident, but I feel like the second I put a bet on him, man, he's gonna get insta-tapped in like the first round, like first minute or something.
Sounds about right.
So I don't know, man. I mean, I feel like Tai Tuivasa, the thing about him that I noticed a little bit is like he doesn't really knock a lot of guys out with his hands. Like it doesn't look like he has big power in his hands. He gets a lot of knockouts with like knees and elbows. I don't know if he's gonna be able to do that against someone like 6'11", like Struve. I think it's going to be hard. So the thing is, though, Struve doesn't have a good chin. So it's like maybe he doesn't even need to have that much power in his hands to drop him or hurt him. And I do think if he comes in here with a leg kick game plan, maybe that could help pressure. But I mean, man, I just don't know. I feel like if he gets taken on one time, the fight could be over like really shortly after. So it's hard to, for me to pick. I'm going to pick Tuivasa, though, because, just the stuff Cody said, he's a lot younger. I feel like he's hungrier, potentially. I mean, it's hard to say because Tuivasa is another guy, like you said, like kind of screws off a little bit. But Struve, he's retired before. He's already had, his big moments in the UFC, comebacks, fight of the nights. He already has a little bit of a career, and Tuivasa's trying to get that. So maybe, that'll push him over the edge. So I'm going to give it to Tuivasa, but yeah, man. I mean, I don't know. It's a weird fight for sure.
Boy, I tell you what, this was a real tough pick, you guys. And we're all seeing it the same way. I mean, it's pretty much Tai Tuivasa goes out there, finds that early KO, or Stefan Struve probably, maybe somehow wins the fight. I mean, for me, I look at this fight and I go, Tai Tuivasa essentially one path to victory here. Is there a chance that he draws this out and we see the scorecards? Yeah, a lot of times we see heavyweight fights that we think, oh, somebody's going to sleep here. They end up being boring fights that go the decision. For me, man, I think when I think about this fight, I just see Stefan Struve having more ways to win. I could see Struve winning a decision. I could see Struve knocking him out. I could see Struve finding the sub if the fight somehow gets to the mat. I'm going to take the guy that I feel like has more path to victories here. Again, a total non-bet. I mean, you just kind of, if this is the kind of fight you like to bet on, I recommend just going to the casino, maybe playing some roulette, because that's kind of how I feel like this fight's going to play out. I'm going to take Stefan Struve in this one. No play, but the pick is Stefan Struve. One thing that I do need to talk about right away before we get into this next fight. Boys, we have done it. We have 1,000 live viewers right now watching this show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in on your Friday night and watching this show. Unreal, unbelievable. If you haven't yet, hit that thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. But we got more fights to get to, boys. So here we go. Next fight of the night, the start of the main card, Magomed Ankalaev versus Ion Cutelaba. A fight that when you add the four of us together, we've probably broken down this fight 25, 30 different times, honestly. Let's see who wants to kick us off here. Let's go. Cody Saftik. Let us know for the fifth time who you got in this one.
All right, so honestly, this fight has officially given me anxiety because first of all, you watch the first go around and it's an anxiety-riddled fight. I mean, both guys are going for it. You got Ion Cutelaba just absolutely throwing caution to the wind, which he usually does. Ankalaev seems to be getting the better of him. One thing worth noting is that Ankalaev loves to just hold his hands down. He keeps his hands low. Like, would he have got caught? What may have been? Who knows? But Ankalaev wins. I bet Ankalaev. Good times. They rebook it. Perfect. Whatever. We'll do it all over again. I got Ankalaev. No problem. Fight gets canceled. Second time. No problem. Ankalaev. Got it. The more it simmers, the more you get worried, the more you think about it. And the line's not very good, man. Cutelaba you can never fade this guy and feel comfortable with it because he absolutely gives 100%. I hate people when they say 110% doesn't exist. Impossible. This man gives 100%. The most you could possibly give, he gives. And does that cause him to gas? Yeah, but he's extremely dangerous. He's got really heavy hands. He's got you don't really see a submission game, but I mean, he's a European Sambo champion, Moldovan, very strong, guy that's absolutely ripped, always fired up, and Ankalaev might give him the type of fight that he wants. So as much as I think that Ankalaev's made a lot of improvements in his striking, again, he's fairly young as well, only 28. He's almost like the dark horse at 205. No one's really mentioning him, but he matches up really well with these guys. Outside of a 1-second mishap against Paul Craig, he's looked very good, very impressive in his UFC career. He's been stalled by Ion Cutelaba for months. He could have been fighting other guys. He could have been moving along, but now that it's here, it's like, okay, I think he's got striking advantages. I know he's got the wrestling advantage. The cardio advantage should check out for him. But then the price tag is just not exactly the most, savory type of tag associated with it. So again, I'm not going to back off Ankalaev. Ankalaev's my guy. I honestly think that in the next few years, you're going to see him contend against some of the better guys in the division. And it needs to start with getting this legitimate win over Ion Cutelaba the second time around. So I got Ankalaev. Don't love the price. Very, very nervous about it. Do I got pit stains yet? Well, they're coming in because this is still a day away. And, on that note, it might not even happen because every time, man, I swear, every time it just gets canceled for some bizarre reason. So hopefully it goes through. Hopefully Ankalaev wins. And hopefully it ends up being the fight of the night again because with Cutelaba, you always get some fireworks.
Well, I tell you what, man, I think we came very close to this fight being canceled yet again because I think earlier today, Cutelaba's corner tested positive for COVID. So don't be surprised if we break this fight down and tomorrow it doesn't happen. But let's roll like it is. DFS by the numbers. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we all broke this fight down a million times. So not going to go into much detail here, but I'm on Ankalaev as well. And, same thing. I mean, the price minus 305, I think it's warranted in a way, but it's just way too wide for me to personally play it. Cutelaba is going to be very dangerous early in the fight, early in the first round. He does tend to slow down, but I don't know. I mean, he looks in fantastic shape. I saw him on Instagram a couple weeks ago. It looks like he's in the best shape of his life. We saw him on the scales today. He looks really good. I know he had COVID, but man, he looks fantastic. So maybe he's able to go into the later rounds. I just don't know. We haven't seen that yet. And I think like outside of Cutelaba, maybe landing something early, Ankalaev is the way more technical striker. He has the way better cardio, better wrestling, better pretty much everywhere. So I got to go with him. It's just minus 305. It's not something I really want to play there, but give me Ankalaev to get the win. He should get it done pretty convincingly. I think the first round could be close, but honestly, he should win those next two, get a decision, or even get a late finish here.
Yeah, man, I agree with them. I mean, it's hard to justify the line, but just, when you look at the fight, it's like there's multiple paths to victory for Ankalaev. He's better on the ground. On the feet, I mean, I think it just comes down to like defensive responsibility. I mean, like you said, Cutelaba always has his hands down. He's wild. He's just kind of in there to try to get that first round knockout. If you look at his career, I mean, he has like a lot of wins in under a minute. Almost all his wins are in the first round, and he definitely has gas tank issues. And it seems like he doesn't like quit, but I don't think he weathers like the storm very well or adversity. I think he kind of can, give it up a little bit. So I feel like, I mean, a guy like Cutelaba is always going to be live in the first round, obviously, to potentially get a knockout or whatever. But I feel like as the fight goes on, Cutelaba is obviously going to continue to slow down. And I just think Ankalaev is going to have a big advantage everywhere. So I got to go with Ankalaev here. But yeah, the line is definitely a little wide.
Sure. Well, I tell you what, I totally agree with you guys, and I got Ankalaev in this one. It's like we said, Ankalaev, multitude of ways to win. Cutelaba, pretty much that KO or bust. And Guru, I think you brought up some good points, man. It seems like, Cutelaba, how do we say this? He's really good at being the hammer, not so good at being the nail. You know what I'm saying? As soon as things seem to sway the other way, that gas tank empties a little bit. Cutelaba ain't that dangerous, and he ain't that scary anymore. But I got to tell you guys what, I'm a big-time fan of Iwan Cutelaba. I'm willing to watch any fight this guy's in. Pure action. At that same time, though, I got Ankalaev in this one, man. A guy that literally is 1 second away from a Paul Craig Hail Mary triangle for being undefeated. I mean, this guy's as close to undefeated as it gets. Closer than John Jones, I'd probably say. I'm just kidding about that. But, yeah, I actually have Ankalaev. Not in love with the number, but I actually have an all-Russian parlay that we will talk about the legs later on. So I do have a play with Magomed Ankalaev. So there you go. I'll talk about those legs later on here. We are up to, a fight that's got DFS hyped up. We got Lauren Murphy versus Liliya Shakirova. DFS, why don't you start us off on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really hyped up for this fight. And I mean, honestly, like, why is this on the main event of UFC 254? Maybe it's something to do with Murphy fighting Calvillo, but honestly, I'd rather see like a Casey Kenney would on the card instead of this fight. And it just really doesn't make sense, but we're going to break it down anyways here. I mean, don't know much about Shakirova. Was able to watch a decent amount of tape on her, but it's really hard to gauge her because she's fought some really, really questionable competition. But, watching her, she's able to pick these girls up and slam. It looks like she has really good wrestling. Her striking looks pretty solid. I mean, pretty solid output. Her hands look decent, but I mean, factoring in the level of competition, and I'm actually kind of surprised by the line. I think Murphy's like minus 190. I really did think it would be wider, and honestly, I do think it opened up wider as well. I did take a shot on Murphy by KO. It was like plus 600. I think on some books it's plus 800. And I mean, Murphy's a finisher. She's finished 62% of her wins by knockout. She only has 2 knockouts in the UFC, but before that, she has a bunch of finishes. And I don't know, Shakirova could come in here. She could be a fraud. I mean, she's been fighting a lot of frauds, and Murphy does hit very, very hard. She even almost knocked out Roxanne Modafferi, one of the more durable fighters in the UFC. So yeah, give me Lauren Murphy here. I think she can get the finish here. I really do, but I don't know. It's women's MMA. I took a small risk, high reward play with that Murphy knockout. I like the line, and I do think if she wins, it could definitely be a knockout here because she does hit really hard. So give me Murphy inside the distance. Give me first round KO here.
I like it. Guru, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a more interesting fight. I mean, I know Liliya hasn't fought maybe like the best competition, but she did beat Bo Meng, who's the only girl to beat Weili Zhang, who's like 14-5. She's a decent fighter. She's beaten some girls that are like 6-0, 5-0. So not like the worst competition in the world, but like DFS said, it looks like Liliya is like a real good grappler. She has good wrestling, really good in the clinch, strong. And that's kind of what Lauren Murphy has thrived with throughout her whole career, is kind of being able to defend the takedown, stay on her feet. And she has gotten taken down against some girls like Sarah McMahon, and it's just the experience advantage for me, man. I do feel like on the feet, it's going to be pretty close. Liliya looks athletic, and she's younger. She moves in and out, and seems like she has decent hand speed. So she could maybe give Lauren Murphy some issues. It seems like she kind of has an edge about her as well. Like she was talking about like getting in some brawl, and then even at the face-offs, I mean, she tried to do she tried to get Lauren to flinch, that Lauren like flicked her off, like she didn't even budge at all. So I was kind of
wasn't into it.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm gonna have to go with Lauren Murphy here, just because I think just the experience maybe and will carry her through. But I do feel like Liliya is kind of live. I think she could potentially get the win. I don't know, like the line -190. I think it's probably warranted, but Lauren Murphy, I mean, she is in the top 5 of the division, everything like that, but I can't see her being more than like a -200 against like anybody in the UFC. I mean, I feel like, she could lose a fight any time. So I got to go with Lauren Murphy, but not extremely confident on that one.
Boy, I feel you there. Cody, what do you think?
Yeah, honestly, I can't be bothered to bet this fight in particular. I just don't think that at 2-1 Lauren Murphy is the feasible play. I think that Shakirova's got a lot of passive victories. I wouldn't say a lot of passive victories. There's that unknown. If you look at tape, just like Guru's saying, she looks to be pretty fast. She's in and out of the pocket. She's quick. Lauren Murphy at 37 years old, her best characteristic is that she's durable. She's gritty. She's a grinder. She'll move forward. But that's not going to exactly play well if Shakirova is able to maintain distance for the most part, use that speed advantage, maybe outstrike her. And the problem with Lauren Murphy is that, again, you don't mind betting her for 2 reasons. One, she's going to give you 100% effort. But the Barb Honchak fight, she's a +200 underdog. The Sanyara Eubanks fight, she's a +170 underdog. The Mara Barella fight, she's a +165 underdog. Crazy, I know. The Andrea Lee fight, she's a +230 underdog. She cast all those tickets, by the way. And the Roxanne Modafferi, for the first time, she's a favorite, -125. That's the thing with Lauren Murphy. She's talented, she's tough, she's gritty, but she's going to win as many fights as she's going to lose. Yeah, she's on a 3-fight losing streak. Yeah, she's knocking on that top 5 of the division. She's, potentially going to get some big fights. Yeah, she was supposed to fight Cynthia Calvillo in what was, probably a career best fight for her. If she wins that, who knows what the opportunities lie ahead. But all the same, it's like you're really used to at least betting her as the underdog and getting some serious dog play out of her. Now you're betting her as a 2-1 favorite. I don't know that I believe it. Shakirova, it's so easy to wiki cap this fight or SureDog cap this fight or Tapology cap this fight. And the first thing you would see is she maybe hasn't fought in anybody. It's like soft competition. But at the same time, it's like there's that unknown of like, what can she do when she has better competition? And is Lauren Murphy, Caitlin Chukagian, someone who's a BJJ brown belt and has a accredited striking background and has fought for world title? No. She actually has no grappling background, no wrestling background, no striking background. She got into the sport late, single mother from Alaska, came to the MMA lab and takes one hell of a punch. But she also wears a lot of damage. Like she cuts easy, she swells easy. And now you've got a fighter from, is it Uzbekistan, that Shakirova's fight?
I believe so.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That could be a positive in Abu Dhabi. I don't know. But regardless if it's not, what they seem to like, they don't give a shit about wrestling. You take a guy down, they're not even scoring it. You like ground and pound, they're not even scoring it. Position, they're not even scoring it. Right. So now I'm thinking, you know what? If Shakirova, who's way faster, just beats her to the punch, lands some eye-appealing shots, busts Murphy up, Murphy does get a takedown, doesn't submit her or nothing. This fight's -360 to go to decision. So bookmakers got it almost as a foregone conclusion. It's going the distance. So why can't Shakirova just land the better shots over the course of 2 of the 3 rounds and win a close decision? I've seen bad decisions on the island so far. I'm not betting Lauren Murphy at 2-1. So I think everybody else is basically saying they got Murphy, but more or less pass. I think pass is probably your best key. In my case, if I was getting real degenerate with it, Shakirova is like another one of these dogs that I think has a live shot on this card.
Yeah, sure. I agree. I think it'd be like Shakirova or pass.
Yeah, I'm pretty much with you guys. I mean, for me, Lauren Murphy, it's like you guys said, we're talking about a 37-year-old. I mean, not overly athletic. Honestly, from my eyes, from what I'm seeing, I feel like Lauren Murphy, she's on a decent win streak, but I almost feel like she's overperforming. Like it's a case where, she's not as good as kind of the way these fights are playing out. And it's like you mentioned, Cody, I mean, as this, a +250 underdog, it's like, yeah, she's not a bad spot, but here we go as a favorite going up against a debuting younger fighter. I watched the tape and this chick seems like she can really throw. She throws some hard, long shots. I mean, I've seen some problems too in the grappling, but man, I don't know. I feel like this chick could come in here and beat Lauren Murphy. It's going to be a total pass for me, man. I will have 0 women's action on this card. I think we only have 2 fights, but here's the deal, though. I'm tired of being on the wrong side of a pick when it comes to Lauren Murphy. Give me Lauren Murphy I can never get a Lauren Murphy fight right, so Shakirova probably wins this one, but the pick is Lauren Murphy. Big time pass for me, though. So we are rolling along, man. And like we said, man, that's hard to believe. That's on the main card here. But here we go. We got Phil Hawes going up against Jacob Malhoun. Cody Safdie, do you want to get us started on this one?
Yeah, so I was actually breaking down the Magomed Ankalaev fight, Cutelaba fight, and a very wise man, friend of mine, very wise man by the name of Just Bleed MMA mentioned this little theory of, loves to be the hammer, doesn't like to be the nail. And boy, oh boy, have those words never been more true for Phil Hawes. He seems to have a lot of potential in that he's athletic. He's got a good wrestling base. He's been training at Jackson Winklejohn for a number of years. He's been known to win rounds over John Jones in the gym. His striking's ever improving. He's not totally too old. I think he's 31 years old, that he's over the hill by any stretch. It's that he gets into these big spots and then he just crumbles apart. Tries out for the Ultimate Fighter, loses to the eventual champion. No big deal there. Lewis Taylor, the guillotine choke. He starts well in these fights, but as soon as you take his shots and you start to deliver something back, maybe there's just like a part of him that's wilting away. So herein lies the problem. The UFC gives him a very winnable fight. So you like, I like Phil Hawes, but then they give you a really bad number that I don't want to trust Phil Hawes at minus 240. Every time he loses, he's the favorite because everyone's got a ton of faith on him and he just doesn't really deliver, doesn't really live up to those expectations, so to speak. With Jacob Malhoun, I would love to just take that random fade, that blind fade. The problem is that from the limited tape that you can find in Jacob Malhoun, he just doesn't look like he's got it. Now, as far as his credentials go, he's a BJJ purple belt. He's one of Robert Whittaker's chief training partners. Apparently, he's one of the coaches that trains, teaches jiu-jitsu at the gym. He tried out for the ADCC Oceania title. Yeah, he seems okay. Seems all right. But, is he going to go out there and beat Phil Hawes? I don't think so. Is he a live dog? Sure. Only because everyone's a live dog against Phil Hawes. So, to make this one quick for you, it's a flat pass. And whereas the last fight with Lauren Murphy was like, you know what? I like that dogger pass in that one. This one, to me, is a flat pass. If I had a better price on Phil Hawes, I'd believe him one more time, baby. I'll believe in Phil Hawes one more time. But at this, it's like, no. If you want to talk about DraftKings, yeah, he's live. He's a finisher. But again, he's a big price tag, and I just don't like the price tag associated with him.
Boy, I can feel you. I definitely feel that angle. DFS, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, another fight where you're kind of confused why it's on the main card. Two guys that really aren't known, especially Malhoun, only 4 fights in MMA. But digging into the matchup, I can kind of see why they did put it on here because it is going to be a very exciting fight, as are most of Phil Hawes. Hawes' fights are. He's never been to decision, which is really interesting. He's finished all of his wins, 75% of them by knockout. He has been knocked out as well. I remember that knockout very well. It was a very devastating knockout. He also got submitted before as well. But, there's not much tape out on Jacob Malhoun, and why would there be? He has 4 fights. I was able to see 2 fights. And he actually looked, fairly decent. Technical. Ground game looks okay. Other than that, not really able to see much, so can't really gauge it. And I see a lot of people taking a shot on Malhoun, and I don't know, is there some inside information I'm missing out on? I just don't see it here. I think Hawes should win. Minus 240 is a little bit sketchy because we don't know much about Malhoun. And Hawes, how can you trust the guy? He's somebody that goes out there, he tries to get the early finish. If he does not get the early finish, he does slow down. He does tire out. But I do have a play on this fight. I did take Hawes to win inside the distance at minus 110. I did think that line was off because, minus 240, you're turning him into minus 110 here. He has finished all of his wins, and typically he likes to get his wins done very, very early, usually in that first round. So I like the line of minus 110, have about a unit on it, and hopefully get it done inside the distance. But, Malhoun could very well win if he's able to survive that early storm of Hawes. Maybe he can get a late finish, maybe win a decision, but Hawes should probably get it done here. But minus 240, yeah, that's a little wide there. But give me a Hawes inside the distance.
There you go. Guru, how you feel about this one?
Yeah, they broke it down pretty good. It's a guy in Phil Hawes that's a beast, man. In the first round, super explosive, athletic. He's a really good wrestler. His striking is okay, but it's improving, and he definitely has big power. And I feel like definitely early on he's going to be way, way more physically imposing, explosive, the better athlete than Malhoun. But Malhoun is 3-0 as a pro boxer. He looks like he has pretty good feints, fakes, distance control, and some straight punches down the middle. But the thing about Malhoun is, he just hasn't really fought anyone good. Phil Hawes, at least his 2 losses were against guys that are credible guys that are real credentialed in their UFC careers. Or they won the PFL $1 million tournament, things like that. So I just feel like Phil Hawes has seen more and done more. And I did make a play on this fight. I just did the fight doesn't start round 3 at -150 because I do feel like maybe if the first round, let's say Phil Hawes doesn't get him out of there, then I don't know if he's going to survive that second round with Malhoun, who's, pretty precise, has decent boxing. And I feel like he's a guy, like you guys said, that doesn't like really being the nail. And if he gets tired, I could see him getting finished in that second round. So 10 minutes is a long time, I think, for both of them to be in there. So -150, I don't think it's that bad. So I did put a play on that.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, man, I think you guys, we got this one figured out. I mean, Hawes, a very impressive dude, a guy that had, before he made it to the UFC, had a lot of hype, was talking about, his accolades in training, some of the fighters that he was training with, he beat him in rounds training. And I tell you what, man, this guy ended up losing a couple fights before he even made it to the UFC. And I think he's kind of been a little bit disappointing. And there's a reason for that, man. He's a guy that, goes out there in the first round, gets his work done. But if he doesn't, man, this guy falls off a cliff. And I got to tell you guys what, very limited tape on Malhoun. This guy's 4-0. We're talking about a guy that's 4-0, debuting on the biggest card of the year on the main card. What is going on? I mean, honestly, both guys are debuting. We've only seen Hawes on Contender Series. This is a really crazy scenario. Well, I tell you what the deal is. Malhoun, main training partner of Robert Whittaker. I got a hunch that this guy's gonna impress in this spot, honestly. 4-0, never been finished, but then again, that's 4 fights. He's won them all. He's undefeated, right? Never finished as an amateur. I feel like this could end up being one of those really tough Australian dudes, goes in there, maybe does take a beating off Hawes early. Maybe he does get finished in the first round. If Hawes wins, that's what he's going to do, right? Something tells me that Malhoun is going to be able to survive, maybe even look good in the first round. I think he absolutely, though, will win that second and third round if we get it there. I'm taking the shot. Give me the dog shot. I'm going to take Malhoun in this spot as a +200 underdog. I know there's a lot going against him, and I know the problem we have in Malhoun is we just don't have the data available to tell us what we have here. It's more of a hunch type scenario, man. Just not overly impressed in Hawes. Boomer bust guy first round. Give me Malhoun. I think he could win. I think he could finish the fight. I think he could win it on the scorecards. I like what I see out of Malhoun. Is he UFC level? Not sure yet. I think we're going to find out, but +200, that's a little too much money on the table. I can't pass it up. Not going to be a max bet, nothing like that, but I think I'm going to take a little flyer on the Malhoun +200 in this spot. I really think he can get it done. So there you go. For that fight, we are up to Alexander Volkov versus Walt Harris. And I'm going to kick it to my man, Cody Saftik, because he does have to bail out early on us tonight. Cody, why don't you get us started if you can?
Yeah, so here's what I'll do. I got to take off. So I know you guys know about that. Appreciate we got over 1,000 people in the chat, so I hate to bail on you guys. So what I'll do is I'll just rapid fire through my picks real quick, and then obviously I'm going to tune into the show myself later and see who you guys got, and then I'm going to lock my place. So if anyone's looking for those parlays and everything. But yeah, I mean, obviously we're worried about Walt Harris that he comes in here and he absolutely starches Volkov, takes his head off. But Alexander Volkov hasn't been finished in the first round in 7 years. He's someone that's got some durability, but also he's got good cardio. He takes you down the stretch. He's got better output. Walt Harris talked about being super motivated for his last fight against Overeem because of the Ania Blanchard incident. But honestly, he just probably had so much on his mind, so much. He showed up to weigh-ins. He looked a little bit soft. His performance, he looked good for 3-4 minutes, completely looked exhausted and gassed out. Now he kind of looks like, he's again motivated, wants to get that win, wants to pay his tribute, wants to pay his respect. If he goes after Volkov hard in the first round, maybe that's his opportunity. The problem is, it doesn't matter what kind of shape he's in, 37 years old, used to train at American Top Team, used to train with the best guys in the world, used to be, a guy that was considered a contender in the sport, a rising prospect. If he didn't shore up those cardio issues back then, it doesn't matter what kind of motivation he has now. He's got to get Volkov out of there early. So I'm going to go with Volkov, probably late stoppage. If not, probably late stoppage. I can see a decision as well, but what I saw with Harris versus Overeem is like once he got in a compromised situation, there was no going to it. Volkov lost to Alec versus Curtis Blades. Made him look human. Okay, 25 takedown attempts by Curtis Blades. Who does that? Walt Harris has never shot more than 3 in his entire career in one fight.
Wow.
It's just not going to happen. It's not going to take him down. So if it's just going to be a striking matchup, we all know how explosive and heavy-handed Walt Harris is. You can never discredit him in that regard. But similar to Cutelaba, it's like the guy with the better skill set should win as the fight progresses down the stretch. And I do believe that guy to go Alexander Volkov. Robert Whittaker, 29 years old, and I think he's shot porn. Jada Cannonier, 36 years old, prime of his career. Listen, this is a guy that has only lost. He debuts at heavyweight, fights Sean Jordan, the most athletic heavyweight the UFC's ever seen. Used to play a tackle or line at Louisiana State, won a national title, backflips in the octagon, knocked out Derek Lewis with a head kick. Sean Jordan, a heavyweight. His losses to 205, Glover Teixeira, former title challenger, Dominic Reyes, former two-time title challenger, Jan Blachowicz, current champion. Only the best guys at 205. At 185, he's just so thick. He strikes. He strikes with a lot of power. He's got a lot of self-belief. If you look at any of this guy's interviews with social media, he's really got this belief in him. And that all plays well because Whittaker doesn't have a great belief in himself. When he was the champion, he was on record saying, I don't believe I should be here, and the pressure and, all this and that. And the 10 rounds he fought with Yoel Romero took a lot out of him. The KO loss to Israel Adesanya took a lot out of him. The staph infection that almost killed him took a lot out of him. All the surgeries for his multitude of injuries took a lot out of him. But maybe he could win if this was a 5-round fight. He needs those championship rounds. In the Darren Till fight, he starts off slow. He usually starts off slow, but gets almost knocked out in the first round against Till, loses the second round, but he comes back down the stretch 3, 4, and 5. Cannonier has never been in 4 and 5. Take him to 4 and 5. Then win down the stretch, but this is only a 3-round fight. And for that reason, I think Cannonier comes out to a hot start, wins the first 2. Whittaker might be able to rally in the third, but ultimately be a 29-28 Jared Cannonier by that point. And then the main event. I know people don't love to hear this, but I'm going with Justin Gaethje on this. And I honestly think half of it comes down to you're just getting a crazy good price on him. Plus 275 is an underdog in Justin Gaethje. He's got all the skills that he should be able to at least give Khabib a legitimate fight. When you look at Khabib's run, it's legendary, but there's all holes in all of his opponents that he's able to exploit. The wrestling is just on another level. With Gaethje, he figures to at least be the best wrestler that Khabib's ever fought. I know people say Gaethje's not a wrestler. He never wrestles, but he knows how to wrestle, right? He doesn't wrestle in his fights because he loves chasing $50,000 bonus. He loves getting that fight of the night and that KO of the night. He loves being for KO of the year and fight of the year at the end. He's a thrill seeker, but the guy knows how to wrestle. His counter wrestling is not bad. He's just got to be able to keep this fight standing in spots. If there's one spot to look at with Khabib, it's you look at the fight with Ally Quinta, and it's here Ally Quinta takes the fight on a day's notice. Tried to sell my grandmother a condo in Saratoga Springs the week before. He's a real estate agent, and down the stretch, when Khabib just abandons going to his takedowns, his striking's improving. There's some striking there. He's got some spots, but he's not going to be comfortable. Gaethje's got to get to the low leg kick. He's got to demobilize this guy. He's got to slow him down. He's got to make sure he doesn't get his back against the cage too much. And he's just got to try to tire him out and hope that Khabib, a guy that always has bad weight cuts, a guy that's very big for the division, a guy that's a multimillionaire, doesn't need to be fighting anymore, and a guy that's now on record being you know what? After this fight, I'll fight George. That's my 30th win, and then I'm done. When guys get talking about stuff like that, there's always that idea of you're not waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning and running 10 kilometers or 10 miles, I guess, for you American fans, up the hills of a Dagestani mountain to start your training camp. Because it's I did that. Been there, done that, champion. My knees hurt now. I'm going to save it for my big opportunities. Why do you think Ferguson doesn't want to fight anymore? His body's shot. He only wants to fight if it's that big fight. Otherwise, I don't want to do it anymore. Why do you think Dustin Poirier is not taking any of these fights? His body's shot. He knows he's got the goods to deliver one hell of a fight, but it has to be made as worth his while. Khabib's in the same situation. Gaethje, meanwhile, as much wear and tear as he's had, he wants this, baby. He's geared for a war. And I just honestly think that the line seems off to me. It's got a built-in factor that Khabib's just such a big fan favorite. He beat McGregor. Prior to that, he's undefeated. He's the world champion. He's got a great personality. He's got an awesome fight style. He looks nearly flawless in there outside of a questionable decision over Gleison Tebow and getting punched in the face one single time by Michael Johnson. He's looked perfect in his entire career. There's a lot to like about Khabib, but built into that, because of all that love for him, is a minus 330 price tag and still heading in that direction. So for that reason, I honestly think people are just looking over past Justin Gaethje. They can say, no, I'm not. But it's well, why is the price at this point? But it's that fandom, right? And casual money is going to keep rolling on Khabib. So I think you can wait until the fight starts and then hit Gaethje. But what I'm hoping, all of our plays prior to this, hit, make some money, have some fun with the main event. I would never lock in one side of this as my lock. Got a ton of faith in it. I really don't. I think this is world-class MMA at the absolute highest level. Does not get better than this. Both guys got a shot at winning. And for the type of price that they're offering on Justin Gaethje, give me the highlight kid, baby.
Well, there you go. What a send-off from Cody Saptic, the big dog pick in Justin Gaethje. Best of luck this Saturday, Cody.
Thanks. Love you guys. Thank you for tuning in again. And looking forward to chatting fights, making some money. Take care, boys.
We'll see you same time, same place next Friday, baby.
See you.
All right. Guru. Volkov? Harris, I think. Who you got in that one?
Yeah, man. I'm going to go with Alexander Volkov, too. I do think, in the first round, if you look at Walt Harris, 11 of his 13 knockouts are in the first round. All 13 of his wins are KO TKOs. So he does have the one decision technically against Andrei Arlovsky, but got changed to the no contest. And even that fight, I mean, I thought Andrei Arlovsky won that fight. It was a split decision. So the one thing we all know about Walt Harris is he's kind of a first-rounder bust guy. In a lot of his fights, we saw that against Alistair Overeem in his last fight. And I do feel like he's another one of these guys, maybe even more so than a guy like Iwan Cutelaba, where I feel like, or Phil Hauser, I feel like if he gets put in a bad position, he really checks out. He doesn't really have, a lot of, I don't want to say he doesn't have heart, but he just doesn't come back from bad situations in many fights. And I feel like just Volkov is the superior striker on the feet. He's more technical. And the size, I think, is going to be something. I don't know if Walt Harris has ever fought someone like taller than him with more reach, anything like that. I mean, it's going to be something that's a little bit unusual for him. I mean, I do feel like Walt Harris is the better athlete. So the first round, he's going to have a chance to close that distance and get the knockout. But I think over time, Volkov will start pulling away, get better. I think if it gets on the ground, I think he has a big advantage as well. But it'll probably just be 3 rounds on the feet. And I'm going to say Volkov either wins a decision because he does go to a lot of decisions, or it's like a late third round TKO type of thing.
There you go. DFS, what do you think, man?
Yeah, I'm really excited for this fight, and yeah, it's not going to touch the ground. You're not going to see Walt Harris going out there for takedowns. It's just not something he does, and I don't think he has the cardio to do that. And something I do want to talk about with you guys is the weigh-ins, and I'm actually kind of concerned. Like, Volkov weighed in at 265. And, I mean, we don't normally see that, so I don't know what he's doing. You'd think he'd come in at 265 for maybe the Blades fight. You'd think that extra weight could have helped him in that fight. But, no, he came in here against Walt Harris weighing 265. And how's that going to play out? Because usually he relies on being the faster fighter, throwing all that output. And, adding that weight, I mean, yeah, it's probably going to add power. But I did like Volkov a little bit more before I saw the weigh-ins. And, with that said, Walt Harris is someone who looked pretty good at weigh-ins himself. So, yeah, as far as I was really confident in Volkov at the beginning of the week, the weigh-ins kind of mixes it up a little bit, but I'm still going to go with Volkov here because I think he's the better fighter. I think he's the better fighter by a decent margin. I think outside of a puncher's chance for Walt Harris, Volkov gets it done, throwing way more output. I do think he's the more durable fighter as well. I've seen people calling Volkov chinny. Like, I really don't understand that more. Like, Walt Harris has been knocked out 3 times in 21 fights. Volkov's been knocked out only twice in 39 fights. So I don't think he's chinny at all. I think he has a really good chin. I think he has the better cardio by a decent margin. So I like Volkov. Like I said, I'm pretty confident in it. But the weigh-ins, I don't understand why he'd come in a little bit, at 265 this time. So give me Volkov here. I also like the under 2.5. I think that's a pretty good look. Usually they set the unders at 1.5 for these heavyweight fights, and both guys can hit really hard. Both guys are more than capable of getting a knockout. Walt Harris has a 100% knockout rate. Volkov, I mean, he's not much of a finisher, people say, but he's finished 75% of his wins. And if Walt Harris does slow down like he did in that Overeem fight, no doubt in my mind that Volkov can probably get a second round stoppage there, maybe early third round. So I think the under 2.5 is a really good look. Like, you don't normally see that with heavyweights. So Volkov for me, and I'm looking at the under, but it should be a really good fight. But Walt Harris, it's going to be dangerous that first round, but Volkov should get it done.
Yeah, well, I tell you what. Hey, can I ask you real quick, what's the number on that under 2.5?
Minus 130.
Wow, okay. That might be one that I totally tail you on, because I got to tell you guys what, man. Walt Harris, this guy, one-round fighter if I've ever seen one. You know what I'm saying? Now, don't get me wrong. He has made it to the scorecards, I think, once in his UFC career. It happens. I was talking about it earlier. Sometimes these sloppy heavyweight fights, they go the distance when they really shouldn't. Here's the deal, though, man. This is the post-weigh-in show, right? Who would have thought that Volkov would be the heavier guy by 10 pounds coming into this fight? I mean, we're used to Walt Harris being like 285, 290 pounds and cutting 20, 25 pounds of water weight to make 265. He comes in today, I want to say 254. I mean, if you weigh 254 pounds, you didn't cut from 265. This guy legitimately weighs 254 pounds. This guy's lost 20, 30 pounds since the last time we saw him. And I'm going to guess that he's got a better cardio, and a better gas tank here. Here's my thing, though. Do I think Walt Harris, since his last fight against Overeem, has gained 2 more rounds of cardio? Probably not, man. As a matter of fact, I don't think Walt Harris goes to the scorecards in this fight, win or lose, you know. DFS, man, you brought up some points. You know, Volkov coming in at 265, and the thing is he hit 265 on the dot. Who's to say he's not 275, 280 pounds cutting some weight down at 265? This is a guy that I want to say 5 or 6 years ago, I remember weighing in 225, 230 pounds. So this is a big difference. Now, don't get me wrong. He's a huge freaking guy. You know, we're talking 6'7", 6'8". Maybe just as age has progressed, you know, he has just naturally put muscle on. Maybe he's, you know, taking a strength and conditioning program more serious now and is just an all-around bigger, stronger guy. And we're not going to see a diminished gas tank. Here's my thing, though. I would be absolutely baffled and blown away if Volkov's still not going to be the guy with the better gas tank. Give me Volkov in this spot. I feel like we had Volkov minus 200 earlier this week. His number seems to be getting sweeter. I mentioned earlier a all-Russian parlay. I'm going to have Volkov as the optional third leg. I'm going to give you our last Russian we have coming on here as the second leg, but give me Volkov if you want to add him as the third leg on the parlay to get you at about a plus 150. We still got one more leg of that parlay to talk about here very shortly, but we are up to the co-main event of the evening. We've got Robert the Reaper Whittaker going up against Jared Killa Gorilla Cannonier. DFS, can you get us started on this one?
Yeah, I'm really curious to hear your guys' take on this fight because honestly, I'm really struggling to pick a winner in this matchup, and it's tough. I mean, I see a lot of people really confident on either side. I see a lot of people saying, "Oh, Cannonier's got it 100%, Whittaker's got it 100%." I'm not one of those guys, and man, I mean, I think Whittaker's the better fighter in every single aspect outside of the durability and outside of the power. And in this fight, I think it's going to play a big factor, and that's what's making this fight so hard to call. I mean, I want to say Whittaker goes out here and wins a decision just by throwing more output, you know, being the better fighter. But Cannonier, he's looked fantastic as of late. He hits like an absolute truck. And Whittaker's someone who's been knocked down in like his last 4 or 5 fights. So as much as I want to go Whittaker, I'm kind of, you know, going back and forth here. I think I'm going to land on the Cannonier side. Am I going to bet it? No, I'm not confident enough in it. I guess Cannonier plus 180 by KO is something I could look at. This is going to be a big pass for me. I think, you know, Whittaker could go out here and win a decision, but every time I play it out in my head, I see Cannonier knocking him out. I mean, Cannonier is going to have plenty of opportunities to do so, and I just can't trust Whittaker's chin at this point. So slightly, ever so slightly leaning Cannonier, but absolutely no confidence in it. I'm curious to see who you guys have here.
Guru, who you got?
Yeah, man, this is a great fight. I mean, this is probably, in my opinion, the best fight on the card. I mean, I know the main event is, you know, more impactful, maybe more like high-level fight, but I think this fight's going to be a banger, man. It's going to be a really good fight. And looking at it on paper, I mean, I don't know. A lot of people are super confident in Jared Cannonier, like DFS was saying, and I'm not really 100% sure about that. I mean, the guy is 6-4 in the UFC, and you look at his wins, like at middleweight, I'm not really that impressed, man. I mean, he fought David Branch. He lost the first round of the fight and then got a second round knockout in that fight. And David Branch is a guy who, you know, got cut from the UFC, is losing on the regional scene. And then he fought Anderson Silva, who, I mean, is like 45 years old. And, you know, he kicked him in the leg and the fight was over. So, I mean, that wasn't really like a super impressive performance to me either. And then when he fought Jack Hermanson, I mean, Hermanson was getting ready to fight a completely different opponent. It was a short notice switch up. Cannonier came in and he lost the first round again to Jack Hermanson, came back the second round, landed an uppercut and knocked him out. And when you look at Jared Cannonier's style, to me, he trains with Fight Ready as well with Eddie Cha, the same guy that trains Korean Zombie. And to me, they have a very similar striking style. They come forward, they throw the low kicks, and Cannonier is always loaded, ready to, you know, slip and rip with that right hand. And he has crazy power in the right hand so far, at least from he's shown at middleweight. You know, he's been able to really hurt these guys that he's hit, but they're not at the same level as a guy like Robert Whittaker. And when you watch a lot of Cannonier's fights, like at heavyweight, at light heavyweight, a lot of things that he really struggles with is kickers, man. Even against Anderson Silva, that second half of the first round, Silva was landing some shots. He was kind of getting his mojo a little bit before the low kick. And I mean, Dominic Reyes really beat up Jared Cannonier with kicks, kicked him in the head, kicked him to the body, eventually knocked him out. Jan Blachowicz did the same thing, kept him on the outside with kicks. And Cannonier, I mean, unless Whittaker comes in here and brawls with him or makes a mistake closing the distance, I think he really could, use the oblique kicks, break the rhythm of Cannonier, not give him many counter opportunities. And I think he's clearly the superior striker, the superior grappler. He's the better fighter everywhere. It's just whether Cannonier is going to be able to touch him on the chin. And I mean, Cannonier is another guy. I mean, he's had multiple surgeries coming into this fight. He's 36, 37 years old. I mean, he's not like he's in the prime of his career. He hasn't fought in over a year. So there's a lot of disadvantages for Cannonier as well. I mean, I don't know why people are penciling him in to be like, a clear winner here, but I'm actually going to go with Robert Whittaker. I think he's going to get a third-round knockout. He's 9-1. He's a former champion, man. I mean, this other guy, he's 6-4 in the UFC. He's lost to guys that aren't even like in the UFC anymore, like Sean Jordan. He got knocked out. And that was at heavyweight, but it's like he got hit with the head kick against a heavyweight. I mean, Whittaker definitely throws a lot faster, better head kicks than Sean Jordan. And I don't know. I just feel like Whittaker, man, he had that tough fight with Darren Till. He lost to Israel Adesanya, but no one else has been able to beat Israel, and that's the only guy he lost to in the division. So I feel like that Darren Till fight was a big fight for him. He got the win. He got off the snide, and it's probably a big confidence booster for him as well. So I got to go with Robert Whittaker here to get the win.
Ooh. Well, I tell you what, sounds like we're pretty split here. Because I got to tell you guys what, man, I got Cannonier, and I am that guy that's confident in Cannonier. I'm going to be betting this guy straight, okay? I like the number he's at, okay? We've seen the movement go. Robert Whittaker, I think Cannonier was the slight moderate favorite when this opened up. And right now, these guys are basically at a pick 'em. And I get it. It makes sense, because I'm also going to agree with you. I honestly think Robert Whittaker probably is the sharper, more technical, all-around better fighter in a lot of ways. But here's my thing, man. Whittaker, we've seen this guy eating a lot of shots. I do believe the chin is degrading. The wars with Yoel Romero, which, I was blessed enough to be at UFC 225, that second battle with Yoel Romero. I thought he was on the verge of losing that fight, may have been given a gift, nonetheless a close fight. But what I'm saying is my man Jorge Masvidal, Street Jesus, is quoted as saying, you come out of a fight with Yoel Romero, a changed man. Well, my guy Robert Whittaker's gone through 2 5-round wars with Yoel Romero, and he ate every big shot that guy threw at him. Now, did Yoel knock him out? No. Did Yoel hurt him bad a handful of times? Yeah, really bad. Here's the deal, though, right? We see Whittaker come back, basically gets knocked out at the end of round 1 against Adesanya, okay? Does get up, makes his way back to the corner barely. I mean, he might be what you can consider out on his feet. Then goes back there early in the second round, gets in the firefight, just gets knocked clean out. Comes back against Darren Till, a fight that I had Robert Whittaker, a fight that I bet Robert Whittaker. Early in that first round, man, about a minute in, Darren Till clips him with an elbow shot. Now, don't get me wrong, Darren Till catches you on the chin with an elbow. That's going to sit pretty much anybody down. I just don't know, man. I think Whittaker, the chin is fading. He is the far younger guy, but when you want to talk like mileage on these guys, I feel like Whittaker is way more spent than Cannonier. Cannonier's been knocked out, but they're more like one-punch KOs. Whittaker is eating those massive, huge bombs from just killers for years now. I mean, Whittaker hasn't had an easy fight in years. I just have a feeling Cannonier, big power dude, a guy who hits incredibly hard. At some point, he's going to find that shot. He may lose round 1. He may lose round 2. But I don't see Robert Whittaker being able to survive 3 rounds with Cannonier. I think Cannonier hurts him, either sleeps him in 1 or hurts him bad enough that he jumps on him and finishes the job. I got Cannonier in this one. I feel like it's Cannonier's fight to lose. I feel like we're going to have to see a rejuvenated Robert Whittaker for him to come out here and win this fight. Give me Cannonier, and it's going to be another straight bet for me on Cannonier. I like Cannonier in this one. Going to put my money where my mouth is. So, what do you know, boys? This is it. The apex, the main event, Khabib the Eagle Nurmagomedov versus Justin Gaethje. Guru, can you start us off on this one?
Yeah, man. I mean, this is an epic fight right here. We got the interim champion taking on the champion here. I mean, Justin Gaethje, I mean, he probably just got a bigger win than any win on Khabib's record his last time out when he beat Tony Ferguson. So that's, a tail in his cap right there. But when you look at the fight, I mean, it's hard for me to gauge on the feet. Obviously, we could say, Justin's better and Khabib's better if it goes to the ground. But we've really never seen Justin recently, at least on the ground, how his jiu-jitsu is defensively if he gets cemented on his back. But one thing I will say, if you watch his fights with Michael Johnson, Eddie Alvarez, even like way back in the day in World Series of Fighting, like he fought Luis Palomino, Brian Cobb, a few guys, and they were able to take his back. Brian Cobb actually took his back in cemented position and really kind of got close to a finish there with some ground and pound in the first round. So I feel like the striking is actually going to be more competitive than people think, in my opinion. Khabib's style on the feet it's not really pretty to watch, but it's a little bit awkward, man. He has the pretty good jab, like he always says, and he could fake the level change, come with the overhand right. We've seen him knock down multiple people with that, Conor McGregor, Thiago Tavares, and so his striking is a little bit unorthodox, but I don't think it's terrible, and he's a hard guy to hit. So I feel like Justin is going to have to try to chop down the legs early, like really try to establish that. But the game, I think, is going to be if Khabib could take him down off the low kicks, I think the fight will be, pretty easy for Khabib. I think he'll win it pretty easily. But if Justin could set up the low kicks and actually, land some, because you saw against Edson Barbosa, people like that, Khabib doesn't really check leg kicks at all. So, if he can land 3-4 leg kicks, that's really all you need potentially. So that could play a big factor in the fight. But I kind of lean more towards the side that Khabib is going to be able to shoot and take him down off the low kicks. And I just think that the wrestling maybe will be competitive. I think that the striking will be competitive, but I feel like once it gets to the ground and they're actually, Khabib's on top of him, I think it's going to be levels above for Khabib, man. I think he's going to be a lot better, in the jiu-jitsu, just the ground and pound, the passing ability on top. And I think that Justin is he's a really tough guy mentally, man. So a lot of these guys that Khabib beats, like inside the distance, it's not really to me like skillful finishes, like where he's like catching you in like a unorthodox choke or just catching you in something. It's more like he beats the guys down so they want to give their back, give their neck, and then he takes them out. So Justin's super tough mentally. I don't know if he's going to be able to like break him and get a finish here. So I feel like Khabib by decision is a decent play. It's like I don't know what the line is, but I think it's probably I can't remember. I think I saw that at like plus 240, but I could be totally off on that.
That's
so
a lot of value.
Plus what? Yeah, plus 270
Damn.
for him to win by decision. Justin Gaethje has gotten finish in both his losses, but they were knockout finishes. It's possible. Like I said, we've seen him knock down guys like Conor McGregor with that overhand right, but for him to like TKO or knock out Gaethje, I don't think that's like a high likelihood. So he could finish him on the ground if he gets him tired enough and like in a position and just ground and pounds him out, like TKOs him. But I kind of lean towards more him winning a decision here.
There you go. DFS by the numbers. What do you got for us, bud?
Yeah. First of all, what a fascinating matchup. I've been waiting for this matchup for a very long time as soon as it was announced. And it's such an intriguing matchup because there's so many unknowns to this matchup. Justin Gaethje has that wrestling background. Has he used it ever? No, he hasn't. And a lot of people are really confident that wrestling is going to pay off in this matchup. It's Khabib. You know what I mean? Like, he's someone who has very good wrestling. And you can also argue, like, Khabib hasn't fought anybody that has the wrestling credentials as a Justin Gaethje. So that's what makes this matchup so exciting. And honestly, I was very, very confident in Khabib earlier in the week. And we didn't touch on it, but the weigh-ins, we gotta talk about it a little bit. That's very concerning to me. He was first to weigh in, but he looked pretty bad. I've watched it plenty of times, and there is some stuff going around that he might have missed weight. There's a video going around that it could be a little bit controversial. So I wasn't able to watch that video myself, but maybe you guys watched it. You can talk about it a little bit. But yeah, Khabib didn't look great. And I know people are saying like Khabib doesn't look great at a lot of the weigh-ins, but just this time he looked probably the worst he's ever had. I don't know if that could affect him in this fight. I think if it does go into the later rounds, I don't know, it could hurt him here. But as far as the matchup goes, I do think Gaethje is going to be able to stuff those first couple takedowns. I think if Khabib takes him down, I think he'll be able to get back up. It's just Khabib is relentless. And, watching tape on Khabib, he pressures very well. He cuts off the cage extremely well. He gets you up against the cage. And once he does, he's able to take you down. Very, very good control, decent ground and pound as well. And yeah, Gaethje's going to look good in those first couple rounds, but after Khabib's grinding on you, it's going to take a toll on you. And a lot of people are saying, yeah, Gaethje's cardio looked fantastic against Tony Ferguson. this is a completely different matchup. I mean, he's going to be trying to stuff a lot of takedowns. There's going to be a lot of ground work involved, and it's going to be tiring for Gaethje. So although his cardio looked good against Ferguson, it's a completely different matchup. And of course, I mean, he's going against guys like Tony Ferguson. Don't get me wrong, he looked good. He knocked out Donald Cerrone. He knocked out James Vick, Edson Barbosa. All of those guys have one thing in common. They're not coming out there and trying to take you down. Khabib is. And that's why this matchup is so fascinating to me. So I like Khabib. I'll be honest, I haven't parlayed. I parlayed it very early in the week. After watching the weigh-ins, I am doing a very small hedge because, first of all, I think this line's off. Gaethje by KO is like plus 450. So I got in on it, a little play on it just as a hedge of the Khabib. So either way, either of those happen, I will be making money. So I do like that line there because I think it's off in a small hedge because the weigh-ins, I mean, it's really concerning. He did not look all that great. And in a fight that should be kind of close, it's going to be close. But, if it goes down the stretch, could that weight cut take a toll on Khabib? Maybe it does. And maybe Justin is able to find a finish here. Honestly, Justin Gaethje is my, one of my favorite fighters, but I've never picked against Khabib. 28-0 for a reason. I think he's going to go 29-0 here. But like I said, the weight cutting issues kind of concerns me a little bit, but I'm still going Khabib. Give me a late finish for Khabib as well. But yeah, the decision is not a bad look as well because Gaethje is tough. He's never been submitted, but I do see Khabib getting him out late.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, boys. 28 men have tried. 28 men have all fell. Khabib Nurmagomedov, the greatest of all time. Does Justin Gaethje bring some new elements to the matchup? Yeah, he does. But is it going to matter? I don't think so, boys. I think Khabib rolls. I think Khabib goes 29-0. Could Justin Gaethje win this fight? Absolutely, man. We've talked about the leg kicks. If he's going to do it, it's going to need to be through the leg kicks. At the same time, though, is Khabib going to bend over and snatch one of those up? Boy, the odds are pretty high. Is Justin Gaethje more dangerous than anyone Khabib has ever fought? I would argue probably not. Is he one of the most dangerous guys that Khabib's ever had to deal with? Absolutely. But, I mean, we're talking about guys like Barboza. We're talking about guys like Conor McGregor. We're talking about guys like Dustin Poirier. For my money, if those guys couldn't do it, and it's not like those guys couldn't do it, they all fell by the wayside. Don't get me wrong. Did Conor possibly win a round? Yeah, but from a standpoint of how things went, did Khabib go out there and maul Conor McGregor? Yes. Did Khabib go out there and maul Dustin Poirier? Yes. Guru, you talked about, which don't get me wrong, it's been a very long time. We're talking World Series of fighting since we've seen Gaethje on the map, but all in all, I hear so many people talking about Justin Gaethje's wrestling. I don't know if these people are hanging out with Justin Gaethje in a wrestling room or something, but where's the tape that can tell you that Justin Gaethje is going to be able to wrestle with Khabib? I mean, this is insane to me. I got Khabib in this one. I'm parlaying Khabib. Earlier, I talked about the Russian parlay. Let me break it down for you. You like a two-legger at close to even money, it's going to be Ankalaev Khabib. If you need it at about a plus 150, you like a nice plus money parlay, throw on Volkov there as well. That's all there is to it for me, boys. The eagle flies yet again. Dagestan, it's the best, baby. You can't deal with that Dagestani wrestling. I think Khabib at some point ends up on Justin's back, maybe finds the sub, maybe just pounds him out. I don't see this one going to the distance. Gaethje is very tough, though. It very well could happen. I got Khabib, though. Highly confident in Khabib. That's just all I have to say about it. Thank you guys for watching, man. 1,400 people in the live stream. Absolutely incredible. Thank you guys so much. And again, if you haven't, hit that thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. It's odds.com, baby. We're doing it every week. Let me throw it around the horn. And for my man DFS, one last time. Guru, let them know where you're at.
Yeah, man, you could find my predictions earlier in the week at MMA Prediction Guru, and you can find me on Twitter, Prediction MMA. So thanks for watching, guys. Yeah, crazy amount of people today. That was awesome. So yeah, man, hopefully we can make some money and do good on Saturday.
Absolutely. DFS by the numbers. One last time, let them know.
Yeah, I mean, what a way to go out. 1,400 people. Never thought, to see something like that. But yeah, this will be my last show for Odds HQ. All love, strictly a business decision, working on building up my channel. just keep growing on there. So if you want to go check me out, I am on YouTube, DFS by the numbers. I do prediction videos, betting breakdowns. I do a live stream on Friday as well, a couple hours before this. So thank you all for watching. My Twitter DMs are always open, DFS_numbers. If you want to talk fights, talk some crap, I'm always down to talk some fights with you guys on Saturdays.
There you go. And I'm Bleed from Just Bleed MMA right here on YouTube. You can catch me on Twitter, Just Bleed MMA, and Instagram, Just Bleed MMA Betting. Shoot me a DM, man. I always do my best to get back to everybody, and I try to drop as much free knowledge as possible. After this stream, go ahead and head over to the channel. About to hit that 1K subscribers, baby. Do me a favor. There's 1,300 in you. If I can get like 1 in every 10 of you, we're there, baby. So it's been great, man. DFS, man, great breaking these fights down with you, dude. Sad to see you go, but absolutely understand. Thank you to everyone who's watched this show. We will be back same time next week, Friday, to break down the next card. The train keeps rolling, baby. Let's have some fun. Let's make some money. Let's cash these bets. Thank you guys so much for watching. We're out of here.